Hi guys, today we have another video. Today it looks like a phone collection video, but it's not. This is going to be phones that I'm going to be making a video where it's kind of like which of my phones work, but it's going to be more of like where I see, like I put my phones in the categories and from working, untested, and not working. So yeah. This one will be more different from what I normally do, but first I'll start from not working, go all the way up to working. Yeah, so let's get started. First up, we have a Simpson Transform. This starts the not working devices. This thing does not work. I bought a battery for it. The battery's fine. The phone does not heat up at all when you put it on the charger. I had it plugged in for, I don't know, like 18 hours. Did nothing, which means the battery's bad in it. So yeah. No, not the battery, the motherboard might be bad or something. Or maybe it has a bad charging port. I don't know. But I'll put out the keyboard. Next up, we have a Durophone. Durophone Ez626. This thing, this thing does not work. It worked at first and it stopped working. Well, it did not work completely in the first place. But the screen does not light up, the keyboard does not light up fully. The speakers went on it. I got that at the thrift store for 49 cents, surprisingly enough. But yeah. Next up, we have a Motorola I580 on a Motorola I580. This thing does not work. What I got from Brady's phone collection. If you've not seen that video, go watch it. I'm not going to link it because I don't have a computer to do it right now. But yeah, this thing does not work. He said maybe it might need a new battery, but by the looks of it, I don't think it will work as the hinges all bad. But yeah. Let me open up the Durophone. I'm still keeping these phones, some of these phones though. I'm actually keeping the ones I have anyway. Next up, we have Nokia 3360 on singular. This thing, Brady, from Brady's phone collection, he could not get this thing working at all. He used a different battery. He used many different batteries for this, and it did not work. So yeah. And next up, we have a. Wait, this should be actually an untested area, since I actually have not tested that yet. So moving on to untested. Let me just move the phones over a little since I moved out that Nokia. Next up, we have untested. First up, we have a Casio G-Zone Brigade. This thing is untested. I got in the trade at Subaru Outback 2018, which I did it in person since he only lives in Connecticut. And I live in New Jersey, so we went to a mall in New York. So yeah. Next up, we have a Kyocera S2300. I forgot the specific name for it, but no battery. It's untested. Next up, we have a Motorola E815. I know this thing might work since I gave the worst condition one to Bree from Breedy's phone collection. So yeah, that might work if I get a Motorola charger. Next up, we have a LG VX3200. This thing's untested. I got it out of the Target bin until I get an LG charger for it. So yeah. Next up, we have a Nokia 8260. This thing is untested. I got this thing back in like January this year. Yeah, I just need to get a Nokia charger. And next up, we have a Audiovox Tdm 8940 or a UT Starcom, whatever you want to call it. This thing's untested, but I really want to get a charger for it, but chargers aren't common for these. Oh, why am I not opening up the phones? Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I just wanted to open up the phones. But sorry, the camera quality is not the best. It's not the brightest down here. And I'm using my tablet, even though it records 1080p video. Where was I? I was at. Next up, we have this thing I need a charger for, as I was saying. Next up, we have a Motorola I730. I was gonna put this in not working, since this used to be. Since this got given to me when I was little. I think my dad gave it to me, but yeah, he gave it to me. It might work, but I don't know. I just put it untested until I get a Motorola charger, even though there might be one in my house. Next up, we have a Motorola Time Port. I do not know the model number or the carrier, but it's a Motorola Time Port. It's untested. I think it was from an estate sale. Next up, we have a Nokia 100AU. This thing's like a brick. It's a very big. I'm not sure if it works. I need a charger. I think it's an Australian phone because it says Bell Antic and it says AU. Obviously, I live in America, but alright, this phone's pretty cool to have though. It's like a brick phone. Next up, the exciting part. We have working phones. Let me just move. Let me just move some of this stuff out of the way. That is the box I keep my phones in. Okay, next up we have for the working phones we have a Nokia Nokia Lumia 830. This thing works. It's a Windows phone. Works perfectly fine. Next up we have an iPhone 4S. This thing does not work perfectly fine, but it does work. It's activation locked and it has an iCloud on it. Next up, we have an Ipod Touch. I do know the versions and carriers for all of these. I'm saving time since I was saying if they work or not. But yeah, I meant to say that earlier in the video. Well, next up, we have an Ipod Touch 4th generation. This thing works perfectly fine. It just has a cracked screen and has dead pixels. That was my fault, I think. I used to actually be my daily user at one point back in 2018. Next up, we have a Ipod Touch, 4th generation. This is a white one. It works. It's just stuck on the activation, the recovery screen, and I cannot get it off, but it does work. Next up, we have another white Ipod Touch. This is just a 32 gig. Another Ipod Touch 4th generation white. This thing works, has dead pixels in the screen, but it's not cracked. And it's in worse condition than the other white one. Next up, we have an Ipod Touch 2nd generation. This one's actually pretty rare since it's an iOS 3.1.3, but this thing's stuck on the recovery screen also because I accidentally reset it. Next up, we have an HTC Desire S626 on Boost Mobile. This thing, well, actually, why am I saying well, never mind. Don't even ask why I said the carrier. I'm just trying to be fast, but, this thing works perfectly fine. I gave the other one to Subaru Outback 2018, or if you know him well enough, his name's Spencer. Next up, you have a Motorola Moto E2, and this thing works perfectly fine. It's in like basically almost mint condition. Yeah, it works perfectly fine. Okay, next up we have a Nokia Lumia 530, I think, is what it's called. But yeah, it's also a Windows phone. I always forget the carrier on that one. Next up, you're probably wondering how this thing works. Brady from Brady's phone collection, he told me that worked on the charger. So I tested it, and it works, but it turns off because I think you need a battery to turn it on completely. But yes, it does turn on. It goes to the sharp screen. The water damage indicators, those are only red because when Brady got it in a phone lot, I think he got out of a Target bin, I forgot. You should go watch his videos though. It's Brady's phone collection. But it's because he was cleaning it off and got the water damage thing to go on. But it's not that big of a deal, so it's perfectly fine. Next up, you're probably wondering how this thing works. I was watching a video on a YouTube channel called Retro Comms. I think that's what her channel was called. She also does phone videos, and she had an HTC what was it called? An HTC G1, which is if you know, it's like the first production Android phone. I think she had two of them, and she said that this is a not a micro USB, a mini USB. So I plugged it in. This is HTC Fuze, or an AT&T Fuze, whatever you want to call it. But I plugged this in. It works, which I'm really happy because I really wanted this thing to work. Came out in 2009. It's a pretty cool phone. But while that thing turns on, I'm just gonna move on. That thing's really loud and startup. Next up, we have maybe I turned down the volume, but next up we have LG Expression on. Well, and I'm not gonna say the carrier. The LG Expression. This thing works perfectly fine. Nothing else to say about it. And the phones that are charged will turn on. I know none of those down there are charged. They're untested. But next up we have a Samsung Sgh A777. This thing works perfectly fine. I'm not even bothering opening up the phones up here. Just shut all of these phones. My main phone is down there somewhere. I'll show that last. That phone might be added into my collection soon. Next up, we have low battery. Okay. Next up, we have a Samsung Sdh S150g. This thing works perfectly fine. It's in basically mint condition. Next up, we have a I believe this is a Simpson Sgh S125g. This thing works perfectly fine also. Almost mint condition. Next up we have an LG Cosmos 2. I stuck on a boot loop, but I think I didn't charge it enough, so yeah, I think that's just the issue. Next up we have a LG Cosmos. This thing works perfectly fine. Next up, we use the battery out of the S125g to power this. Oh yeah, let me turn on the S125g. Yeah, I proved to you that loud. Let me just pause the video. Okay, took the battery out of the S125g. Now I'm going to put it inside the Sdh A390. Since it takes the exact same battery. I'll have to get it back for this thing. If you haven't seen the review on this phone, go watch it. This thing has a pretty decent, quiet speaker. It's just crisp. Well, it works perfectly fine. Good thing I stopped it before that lead beeping noise turned on, seeing that the battery was not compatible. Brady's phone collection even did a review on this S125g, so you should go watch that video. And I believe Tony's phone collection did a review on this phone right here. But he said he didn't have a charger for it. He probably had a mini USB. Probably just didn't know. So yeah, let me just turn off this thing. And I'll turn off the HTC. That runs Windows Mobile 6.1. I'm going to do a review on thing. Just since I start school tomorrow. Yes, I start school pretty late, which means I end late. But yeah. Yes, I won't be making videos as often. Well, I was not making videos that often in the first place. Next up, we have a Panasonic KX-TGA 652. This is a cordless phone. It does work. Just my grandma got new house phones, so she gave that one to me. Yeah, just not with docking station, but it does work. Next up we have a Ipod Nano. Yes, these are not phones, but I just consider them phones for no reason. Next up we have an Ipod Nano 3rd generation. Works perfectly fine. Just beat up. Next up we have a mini Mp3 player that I got from Spencer or Subaru Outback 2018 in the trade. You should go watch that video though. It only works in the charger. Next up we have an iPod Shuffle 1st generation. This thing works perfectly fine. And last but not least, my main phone works. This is not working the best. But yeah, that wraps up this video. And my phone's dead. This wraps up the video though. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Hit the notification bell if you want. But for now, I'm just not going to be making videos too often. But maybe I'll make them once in a while. But as always, make sure you do all the stuff I said before in the video, like a few seconds ago. But peace.